Biele nochime, welcome to lesson 9 of the Nahuatl channel. Today, before we get started, I'll just briefly mention one important thing about Nahuatl when you're trying to break apart words is that you need to make sure whether the vowels in a word that you think is a word are short vowels or long vowels. Now, I don't really focus on this so much in pronunciation because it really doesn't matter much in terms of pronunciation. There's very few words that are going to be distinguished between long vowels and short vowels, which is a thing in Nahuatl. But there's very few times that that's actually going to matter. Okay, so in Nahuatl, that's not going to matter a big portion of the time. What this means, however, is that while it's not important for pronunciation purposes, it is important when you're trying to break apart a word and trying to see, well, does this word break apart into this and this piece? In that case, it would matter, and a good dictionary will tell you if you have long vowels or short vowels. There's a few words that are distinguished by it. For example, tlatia would mean to burn something, whereas tlatia, with both of the A's long, this one would mean to hide something. There's a few words where it is important, but for the most part, people will understand what you're saying. Okay, so in today's lesson, we're going to cover a few new topics. For example, we're going to learn about how to say when you have multiple objects that you do an action to. For example, we learn how to say I see it, I see one thing. But now we're going to learn how to say I see them, I see many things, more than one thing. We're also going to learn the conjugation for how to say actions that we do. So we learned you do it, I do it, he does it. Now we're going to learn how to say we do this action. And last, we're going to cover our first tiny little bit entryway into the first lesson to get you exposed to the concept called transitive verbs. Okay, this is going to be a very important concept in Nahuatl. Something that's very different between Nahuatl and English and Spanish and most other languages you may be familiar with. Tonali chiknawi. Okay, so we've learned how to say this type of sentence before. I made it extra long. Nesiwatl ki'ita chichi yayawik. Nesiwatl ki'ita chichi yayawik. The girl sees the black dog. Here she's seeing one thing. Ita means to see, and ki means it. Nesiwatl ki'ita se tototl tiktik. That girl sees a blue bird. Nesiwatl ki'ita tlaxkali. Nesiwatl ki'ita tototl kostik. Nesiwatl ki'ita kuekuetzin miston. Now she sees a small cat. Here's a change now. See if you pick up on it. Nesiwatl kin'ita chichime. Nesiwatl kin'ita totome. Nesiwatl kin'ita mistonme. Nesiwatl, here would be ki'ita tlaxkali. Okay, so let's first backtrack and see what's going on. The word ki'ita changed to kin'ita. Why did it change? Well, now she's not saying one animate thing. Now she's saying multiple or plural animate things. So because it's more than one, we saw chichime, right? So if it has that me, it's a good giveaway. It's plural. And so now we wouldn't say ki-ita. Now we would say kin-ita. Ita is the same. Ita is the root, iolo. It's heart, which means to see. That's ita. But you can't just say see by itself. And now that doesn't make sense. It has to have that either the K or the kin in here in front of it, in this case. So the ki-ita, that ki, sometimes it's K and sometimes it's ki. So that K or ki sound means it, one thing. And when it's more than one, it becomes kin. It just has the little extra N at the end there. kin. Kin. Okay, that's the only difference there. Ki is for one thing that you're doing an action to. Kin, with the N, is for multiple things that you're doing an action to. That's why we said kin ita totome. She sees the birds. It's almost like you're literally saying she sees them, the birds. But this is how you would say it in Nahuatl. You could not say nesiwatl ita totome. Even though ita means to see, the word see by itself it's kind of like it feels like it's naked. It doesn't make sense. Nesiwatl kin ita mistone. Okay, so plural things. That's why you have kin. But here, nesiwatl ki ita tlaxcali. She sees tortillas. Well, even though tortillas is plural, it's not an animate plural. Okay, so it's gonna be ki, just one object, and we're treating it as one object, pretending it's like it's singular. Nesiwatl, what would we say here? Ki ita or kin ita? Here would be kin ita. She sees them. Okay, more than one bird, we would say kin ita. She sees them. Kin ita again. She sees more than one. Kin ita. All right. Now we can conjugate it in different ways too, like who's doing it. Okay, so if someone asks, what do you see? Tlen tikita. That's a question. What do you see? Tlen tikita. We know that ti means you, the ki means it, and then the ita means to see. So what do you it see is literally the way we're going to say it now. Tlen tikita. What do you see? And she responds, Nikita chichi. I see a dog. So that ni means I'm doing it. We've seen that before. Nikita chichi. I see a dog. Now they ask you, what do you see? Tlentikita. This time she says, Nikin ita chichime. Nikin ita chichime. I see them, the dogs. Which is the way you would say, I see the dogs. Nikin ita chichime. Tlentikita. And she responds, Nikin ita totome. Nikin ita totome. Tlentikita. Nikita kal tlamachtiloyan. Nikita kal tlamachtiloyan. Tlentikita. Nikita nocha. Tlentikita. Nikita no altepe. Okay, so a new word here, altepetl, is your town or city that your town or your city, or just a town or city, altepetl. She said no altepe, which means my town or my city. So she's saying, I see my town, I see my city. Nikita no altepe. Nikita tepetl. I see a hill. Nikita mishtli. Okay, so it's not mishme for clouds. It's just mishtli for one cloud or many clouds. So we pretend it's singular, even though it's more than one. Nikita el huicatl. I see the sky. El huicatl. You might hear il huicatl. It's the same thing between el huicatl and il huicatl. Okay, so matter of preference / varieties. Tlentikita. Nikita conetl. Conetl. Conetl is a child. In this word, it doesn't matter what gender the child is. Conetl. Nikin ita coneme. I see children, the plural. Nikin ita coneme. Okay, so for this to make sense, we needed that me, which makes it plural, children, and the kin, which makes it plural of what you're seeing. The plural of the objects. So not Nikita, but Nikin ita. Nikin ita masame. I see deer. Okay, so that was our mini lesson on the difference between ki-ita and kin-ita. We'll see more examples in upcoming videos. Next, we're going to switch gears into this topic between transitives and intransitives. They're super important for you in Nahuatl to learn about. And we'll see more about it why later. Okay, but for now, let's just focus on understanding what that concept means, okay? And this is important if you learn even other indigenous languages from the Americas, like Mayan languages. For them, this concept is super important as well too. Okay, so your intransitive actions, that just means think of it as simple actions. It's just things that you do or things that happen. Okay, like I walk or I run, or in English at least, I stand up or I sleep. Okay, so if you think about it, these actions, they tend to be just things that you do, right? Anything you do. No one else is involved in these actions. You're not doing it to someone else. You're just, one person is doing, there's just one subject doing the action. I don't mean singular, but I mean there's only one person or one group of people who's doing this action. Okay? That's the only thing involved in this action. Only one group of people is involved in this action. But transitives, there's either an object involved or there's another person involved. In other words, you're doing something to someone else. Like I cut something. Okay? Well, there's me doing the action, and if I'm cutting a paper, well, this paper is receiving that action. So there's two people involved now, or two things involved at least. I could say, I see you. Okay, in that case, there's me involved in the action, but there's also you involved in the action. So there's two things involved in this action. Or if I say I throw something, even just I throw something, it might sound like a simple action, but if you think about it, you're throwing an object. So this object is getting affected by you. So it's the object of this action. Okay, it's the one receiving the action. So you could say with transitives, there's two groups involved, and in transitives, there's only one group involved. Okay, in this chart, we're seeing what we just learned between the difference between ki and kin, right? When you said nik-ita, that K represents it. And when we said nikin-ita, we said I see them, that kin represents them. Those are the ones who are receiving the action. Okay, so this is right here, the part in the middle, that chart there, the K and the kin, those are the transitive objects. They are objects, people who are getting affected by that action. Whereas the first chart, the ni and the ti and the zero, and then the ti and the in and the other zero, those are the subjects, the ones who are doing the action. Okay, so with certain verbs, we have to learn if Nahuatl, are they kind of like born? Are they risen? Do they come to us as intransitive, our simple actions, or transitive, our complex actions? Okay, let's take a simple word like wika, which means to sing. Wika. I'm not singing someone. I'm not singing to someone. I'm just saying I sing. You sing. Okay, that conjugation doesn't need a K or a kin. That's only going to use from the first column. Let's try an example. I would say ni wika, ti wika, wika, ti wika, in wika, and wika. Okay, we haven't memorized this pattern, all the words in this chart yet, but just so you can see what's going on. Okay, so with this action, wika, I cannot say nik wika to say I sing it. Okay, this action doesn't work like that. It can only have stuff from one column here. But for now, let's just see how it applies to some of the words we've learned already. Let's look at the word to eat. There's actually two forms of the word to eat. Two very important forms. There's tlaqua, and then there's qua. We've got tlaqua and qua. They both mean to eat, but you use them in opposite ways. When you say nitlacua, you're saying I'm eating. Nitlacua, I'm eating. But you cannot reference what you're eating. There's no object involved. You can't say I'm eating pizza, I'm eating tortillas, I'm eating chips, I'm eating bread. You can't say that. When you say nitlacua, that's it. You're just saying I'm eating. In general, right? Some object that we already know about, or you're just saying you're eating in general. Okay, so you're eating stuff. But if you want to say particularly what you're eating, then you say qua. Nik qua. Nik qua. And now we have that K. That K means it. So you're saying I, it, eat the pizza. It's weird to think about how that works, but this is how we're gonna say it. Nihqua. Nihqua. I eat it. And now you can say what you're talking about. Nihqua pizza, nihqua tlaxcali, nihqua elotl, nihqua nacatl. Okay? You can say what you're eating. Now there's an object involved. Okay, so tlacua, you cannot say ni tlacua pizza. That's the point here. You can't say that. It makes no sense. Okay, you have to say ni tlacua, just in general, and cut it off there, or nihqua pizza, if you're gonna say or specify what that object is. Let's look at more examples so we can get this pattern better. Okay, if you say ni tlaoni, you're just saying I'm drinking. But you're not saying what you're drinking. You're just saying in general, I'm drinking. Ni tlaoni. Ni tlaoni. But if you say, well, I want to say what I'm drinking, because I want to clarify I'm not getting drunk, I'm just drinking water, or I'm drinking soda, whatever, drinking milk. Well then, instead of tlaoni, we have another word which is just oni. Not tlaoni, just oni. Okay, so tlaoni means to drink in general. Oni means to drink something, and you're going to specify what it is you're drinking specifically. Nik oni. Ni k oni. That K means it. That tells us there's an object here. Ni k oni. Whereas ni tla oni means I'm just drinking in general. So nikoni atl, I'm drinking water. Nikoni leche, I'm drinking milk. Nikoni tzopelatl, I'm drinking soda or a sweet drink. Nikoni chicolatl, I'm drinking chocolate. All right, same thing. She says nitlaoni, and she can also say nikoni atl. All right, that was our mini lesson into getting your brains ready for future lessons on the transitives. Right now, that's all we're going to cover with that topic. Next, we're going to learn how to say actions that we do. Okay, so we've learned ni tlacua, I eat, ti tlacua, you eat, and tlacua, he eats. Next, we have to learn how to say we eat. We eat. Okay, and the word for we is tojuantin. This is that optional word. It's not always required. This is the word that means us. Us. Tojuantin. And other varieties, you'll hear this as tehuantin. In Huasteca, you hear this as tojuantin. Okay, they say, tojuantin timotlaloa. We are running. Tojuantin timotlaloa. Tojuantin titequiti. Tojuantin titequiti. Can you guess what they're going to say here? They're trying to say we are eating. Okay, well, first let's go back and learn what's the pattern. Okay, so tojuantin means us. Okay, motlaloa is the root that means to run. Motlaloa. So to say, conjugate this for we, you put the T in front of it, and you put an H at the end. And that's it. T, and then motlaloa, and then that H. That H is what's going to be the difference between timotlaloa, which means you are running, and timotlaloa, which means we are running. And it's tricky because it's a very soft H. So yes, in hearing it, it is tricky to hear the difference. Okay, titequiti What's the root word here? We know it's to work. So what word here means to work? It's tequiti. So pretend you don't see that and you're left with the T in the front and the H at the back. And that's it. Tlacua, we're going to put the T in front and the H at the end. So you could say Tojuantin Titlacua. Tojuantin Titlacua. And by the way, the Tojuantin is optional. That's optional. You could just say Titlacua, we're eating. Or you could say Tojuantin Titlacua, we're eating. Tojuantin Timomachtia, we are studying. Momachtia is to study. You put the T and the H at the end. Tojuantin Tiquita Tlaxcali. Oh, now we're seeing it with the transitive action. There's two things involved. That's why we have a K. Tiquita Tlaxcali. We see the tortilla. Tojuantin Tiquita Tlaxcali. Tojuantin Tiquita Tlacuali. We see food. Tojuantin Ticpia Sechichi. Pia means to have. So this must mean we have a dog. Tojuantin Ticpia Se Caballo. Tojuantin Ticpia Se Pizzotl Yolpactoc. Typo on pizzotl. Tojuantin Ticpia Se Miston Wiwi. Wiwi means dumb or foolish or silly. Wiwi. We have a foolish cat. Tojuantin Ticpia Se Miston Wiwi. Tojuantin Ticpia Miak Amochtli. We have lots of books. Tojuantin Ticpia Miak Tequitl. We have a lot of work. Tojuantin Ticpia Tzopelatl. We have sugar drink, a sugary drink, any kind of sweet drink, juice or soda. Tojuantin Ticpia Chichik. Okay, so chichi was dog, and chichik with a K at the end means something bitter. We've got a bitter one. And the bitter one means a beer, a bitter thing. We've got bitter, which means it's kind of like, not slang, but the way you would call beer. Feeling word's the same. Tojuantin Timayana. We are hungry. Tojuantin Tiamiki. We are thirsty. Tojuantin Ticochmiki. We're sleepy. Okay, so far this is the conjugations we've learned. Ni momachtia, I study. Ti momachtia, you study. Momachtia, she studies. Ti momachtia, we study. Okay, we need two more to complete all the conjugations of subjects. Okay, so take a second to think about, see if you can conjugate on your own how to say to work. So you would have to say, I work, you work, she works, and we work. Okay, so the first three we've learned before. Ni tequiti, ti tequiti, and tequiti. Our new form we've learned today, we, starts with the T and the H at the end. So it would be ti tequiti, ti tequiti. Okay, so this is the conjugation of things that I can do. Ni tequiti, ni momachtia, ni tlacua, ni cochi, ni tequiti again, ni tlaoni. Okay, all the actions we've seen when I do them. Actions that you do. You work, you study, you eat, you sleep. Actions that he or she does. Tequiti, momachtia. tlacua, cochi, etc. And the new one would just have T and H at the end for us, things that we do. Okay, so practice those different conjugations. Here's another type of exercise. What if someone asks you, what am I doing? And you have to tell them, well, you are working. Okay, let's tell him, you are working. You is ti, and work is tequiti. So it would be ti tequiti. You're working. Now he asks you, what are you doing? And you say, I'm eating. I am eating. It'd be ni tlacua. I'm eating. Or if you want to say, I'm eating pizza, nihkua pizza. Tlen kichiwa. What is she doing? You would say, tlaoni. She's drinking. Or if you want to specify that she's drinking water, ki oni atl. Okay, here's the words we've learned today. Chichik, mihtotia, which means to dance. The conjugation nikchiwa, tikchiwa, and kichiwa. The difference between k and kin, the typo there needs an n, kin. Actions that we do. Our first look at transitives and intransitives. Actions like kochmiki, sleepy. Tsopelatl, sweet water. Mishtli, a cloud. Ilhuicatl or elhuicatl, the sky. And conetl, a child. Tlaskamati nachime.